Hi, I'm Adam the Tank Engine, and I join game jams and share what I learned. This is going to be a long series of episodes as I create a passion project of mine. In this particular episode, we're going to create a sprite sheet and slice it, script some NPC behavior, and discover a super simple level building feature that is built right into Unity. Now, this project was created for the Uplifting game jam. I just happen to have a little something started back in my college days that might be uplifting enough to qualify. And honestly, this jam is just a good excuse to finally do something that I thought of over 15 years ago. I get that I'm using the 2022 editor in 2026, so some of these options might not exist anymore. But I'm going to try this universal 2D option. I normally do the regular one, but I think that's on the way out. So we might as well try it. And since this is for the Uplifting game jam, I'm going to call this Cheer Up, Big Guy. Now, back in college, I had an assignment to create a sprite sheet, and for some reason I chose a very high-resolution, hand-drawn animation of a minstrel hopping along the screen. It took a long time and often wondered why I bothered trying so hard, but today is the day to finally cash in. Now, I don't have the original drawings, but I do have these scans. So the concept of the game is that you're just this minstrel, and you shoot notes at people who are very sad, and then they cheer up, and that's it. Just a quick note about animation. If you decide to use hand-drawn look like I have, you don't have to create a full, perfect 90s Disney quality cartoon on paper before refining it on a computer. For example, this is all I did for the skipping animation. Since the top half of the body is largely unchanged, I didn't need to draw any of that. So all the rest of this was done in Illustrator. So I went to my old version of Illustrator and I created the, quote, enemies. They're actually just going to be sad people that when you hit them with the music notes, they become happy. I'm not really sure what to call them. So this is how I like to do it. I put everything on top of each other. And then I exported all these out as different frames. I have a Photoshop file set up with guides that are all 200 by 200. I just created a 200 by 200 square, moved it around, put guides in there. You probably can't even see them, to be honest, but they're there. I import all these into Photoshop, put them in the right spot, and now my sprite sheet is ready for Unity. We have our blank project here, and I might note that due to a lot of life happening lately, I only have 3 more days until this game jam ends. So that's fun. Now we're going to import our sprite sheets. We happen to have 3 of them ready. I'm hoping to have more. Now we'll just start with the main character here. The first thing you need to do is change the sprite mode from single to multiple. Hit apply. And then we go to the sprite editor. This is where we're going to slice it. Go to slice. I do grid cell by size because I know the grid size. And we're going to slice it according to our 200 by 200 sprite size. And hit slice when you're done. It doesn't look like it did anything, but it did. Close editor. It's going to ask you to save. Click anywhere. It's going to ask you to save again. Now after slicing, we have all this jammed in one object. And when you expand it, you can see all the individual slices we just made. And by the way, you do the same thing when slicing tile maps, but that's not happening anytime soon. As I've shown in other videos, when you want to make animations using a sprite sheet, you just have to select whatever sprites you want for that animation and drag them into the scene window. It will prompt you to save your new animation and create a game object in the scene. Now with this object created, you can go to the animation tab and you can preview it. Hit down, you can actually see your guy. And this is where you can tweak things by moving them around. Once your animation is created, however, you can just delete this game object from the scene. Your animation will still be saved for future use. You may have noticed that I finally upgraded Unity to something within my children's lifetime. I was hoping it had better visual scripting support for 2D lights, but, well, it doesn't. It does, however, have a bunch of warnings about the scripts I've already done. So that's neat. I can't wait to fix those. When you hit the fire button, the Wandering Minstrel shoots notes of salvation. If they hit some of these unsaved peasants enough times, they come to their senses and become joyous. Now each musical note that you shoot is just an object with a music tag, a circle collider set to trigger, and a rigid body with a high gravity scale so it drops a little bit. On the script graph for the peasant, when the trigger collides, we make sure it is a music note and not anything else by getting the tag here. If that is true, we update the peasant's health by getting the current health and subtracting it by 1. Then we destroy the note by getting the game object from the collision info. Next, we have this particle effect prefab that we want to show. Then after 2 seconds, we remove it. Now if you use this node, you don't have to use a coroutine or a waiting node. You just set the time and it'll destroy it after 2 seconds, which is kind of handy. And a bit of a side note, if you're going to do more than just a game jam game, it might help to organize your graph a little bit into these groups. For example, I have this particle effect. You hold Control and click and drag. Give them good labels too, so a couple weeks or months from now, you'll be able to make sense of this. After this note hits, we do a quick check if their health is 0 or less than 0. Just in case something goes horribly wrong. Now if it is 0 or less, we update the UI up here. So the people saved has increased to 1. And we do this the same way we did health, where we set the variable to the current plus 1. Then I generate a string and set the text. Now in case you're pulling out what's left of your hair trying to get this to work, you have to have a very specific text mesh node. Now there are a bunch of these and I don't have a clue what they do, but the one you want is this one. Now these script graphs can get pretty out of control, so I like to keep everything as separate as possible. So down here, instead of stringing more nodes to the health check above, I'm just doing a health check every frame separately. Is this going to kill my frame rate on a PC in 2026? No. No, it won't. So we're just doing this again. If health is 0, we're disabling the collider. We're setting the animator bool, start to saved animation. We're stopping this gloomy purple effect. And then we're showing a nice happy one. I tried to have just the joy effect start, but it just wouldn't work. So I had to set it as active instead. Luckily, there's more than one way to do things. To make moving around my level a little easier, I want to have platforms that you can jump up through but still land on. Luckily, we don't have to do any scripting at all. It's built right into Unity. Just select your platform object, add this platform effector 2D component. Then on your collider, you check use by effector, and that's it. As long as your object's collider shape is reasonable, you might not even have to change the defaults, which I did not. For the game jam, this is all I had time for, unfortunately. I was hoping to have background colors update when you save people, but I couldn't get that working in time. We'll just have to save that for a different episode. Also, I should note, in case you try this, which I know you will, my 5-year-old drew out the level for me. It's a masterpiece.